After months of resistance, President Trump has signed the Epstein Transparency Act into law, forcing the Justice Department to release unclassified documents related to the late notorious sex offender. Joining us now from Washington is NBC's Alice Barr. Alice, good morning to you. This act now been signed into law. What are some of the next steps in this process, and when can we all start learning what's actually in these files?
Good morning. Yeah, that has been the million-dollar question for so long. What is actually going to be released? So the Justice Department now has 30 days to comply with this new act and make the files public. Some question about exactly how much is going to come out, because while there's a clause here that says that nothing can be withheld by the Justice Department due to embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity, there are going to be redactions for some other key reasons, chiefly protecting the identities of victims here. But when the information does ultimately come out, the bill requires the Department of Justice to share records like flight logs and sealed settlements. We're expecting more emails and text messages, financial records, evidence from seized hard drives, and information from interviews with key players. This is supposed to be the whole shebang, everything that so many people across both political parties and chiefly the survivors who have kept this story at the forefront have been pushing for all this time. And now there's just the question of how much might be stripped out before the full thing comes forward.
Clearly very sensitive stuff we're talking about here, and we can understand the redactions, I imagine. But what is the Justice Department going to say for their reasoning as to why specifically they're going to be withholding some of this information? Do we know?
Right. So specifically, as you noted, as far as protecting the identities of victims, that seems pretty straightforward. There's also a clause in here about making sure that any child pornography materials are not released. And the Justice Department had said when it made its original release over the summer and said it was not putting anything else out, that much of what was withheld was things that fell under those categories. But there's another clause here that's getting a lot of attention and raising a lot of eyebrows, because there's also a clause in here that the Justice Department can withhold any material that could jeopardize any other active federal investigations. And we know that President Trump just directed the Justice Department to open probes into some high-profile Democrats who have been mentioned in emails that were released in recent disclosures through the House Oversight Committee. So there are a lot of folks, not just Democrats, but Republicans as well, who've, the ones who've been leading the charge on this, who are questioning whether those new investigations will get in the way of a wider release of documents, because the DOJ will say, well, we can't put this chunk of information out because it relates to X, Y, and Z investigations. So that's where things are maybe a little bit stickier, and folks are raising some questions about what could potentially be held back. Right.
So reading the tea leaves here, are we perhaps hearing from the Attorney General that there might be other charges possible against people connected to Epstein's crimes?
Yeah, this part is interesting, because over the summer, when they said we're not releasing anything more, they said that they had not found any evidence that warranted charges against anyone else, that federal prosecutors had not. The Attorney General now says that new information has come forward. She didn't specify what that is, but it could include material from Epstein's estate that has been subpoenaed through a House Oversight investigation that I mentioned, and that Republicans have long pointed to as their preferred means of transparency. In fact, they're saying that there's more information coming out through the subpoenas from the Epstein estate than we may actually see in these files in terms of new information that everyone has been, clamoring for so long. Dan?
Yeah, plenty more to come in this story, Alice. We know never a dull day there in the nation's capital. We thank you for your time again this morning.